What's up, people? Jean-Carlos here with Total Body Training, where I help you get lean, gain muscle, and build confidence. And this is Fit Tips episode number 25. And it is a continuation of our Q&A episode featuring kids. And that is coming up next. Alright, people, so you are going to notice that I am not in my studio and I don't have any of my fancy lights or anything like that right now because I'm just at home. I am actually writing the next season of Fit Tips right now, and I'm taking my time with this one. You can probably see that we've been evolving the way that Fit Tips works. There's been a lot of skits and a lot of people showing up in my videos, so I just want this season to be extra special so we can just keep progressing and creating content that you think is interesting and that I enjoy putting out. So that new season will be starting up next week. In the meantime, we have this Q&A episode where I have some children, these two girls who are going to be reading your questions that viewers sent in, and I'm going to be answering them. This is a continuation of an episode that we released, I believe it was like 2 or 3 weeks ago. So it's the second half of that. So this is the part 2. And without further ado, let's go ahead and go on to the Q&A.
How has not drinking helped you in any way?
That is a good question. People ask me about this quite a bit because I've gone through my own transformation in my own personal life with regards to partying, drinking, and spending time out and about. When I was younger, I spent a lot of time in bands, and with that came a lot of partying, sleepless nights, waking up late, things like that, and it just wasn't the healthiest lifestyle. And when I first started getting into weightlifting, I realized, or I read a lot, that you want to try to cut back on how much you're drinking because it'll do a few things. And this was the one that caught my attention, was it'll lower your testosterone. And that is really important to me as a man, but it also should be important to men and women if your testosterone is getting lowered, because testosterone is key in building muscle and burning fat. Here is how I see it. Nowadays, people are having more and more problems with hormone imbalances, and scientists and many people are saying that that has to do with the food that we're eating and maybe the stress levels that we have, all sorts of stuff that just sometimes are out of our control. And having balanced hormones is something that should be important to most people because it affects your mood, it alters the way that you feel, it affects your physiology, it affects your mental clarity, your motivation. All those things are tied into your hormones. And if you have some kind of imbalance, it can send you in different directions. So like if you have too much testosterone, that can lead to certain issues. If you have too much estrogen or proestrogen, it can lead to certain issues. For me, I want to just make sure that those things are balanced so that I'm operating at my best. And so that's why I cut back on drinking. And I personally find that I'm more focused as a person, and also I feel better when I'm not doing that. Does that mean that I don't enjoy a drink every now and then? No, not at all. I mean, I probably drink once a month, maybe once every other month, and I'll enjoy some wine or some good liquor, a mixed drink, something like that. I find that now that I don't drink as often, I enjoy it more. I'm saving money. I feel better. That was the biggest thing. I felt like crap because of how often I was drinking. And I don't hide this. If you hop on my Facebook page, you can see photos of me before 2013, holding beverages, looking like shit, being out with friends, things like that. I just didn't look as good as I look now, not to brag, but I'm definitely in better shape than I was back then. And I think I look younger than I looked back then, even though I was younger. And a lot of it had to do with my lifestyle. So I hope that information is helpful to you, Melissa.
This question's from Karyn, Trong. How often should you work out when starting out? Which one's better for weight loss, weightlifting or cardio?
Karyn, I recommend working out between 4 to 5 days a week, and at a minimum 3 days a week. And within that, I recommend that you work out between 30 minutes to an hour. Any more than that, you just don't really need to do more than that. Sometimes that can affect, you can start to go into something called fatigue or over fatigue if you do that consecutively or many days. Things like that. You hear about athletes who work out longer than that, And a lot of times they're eating and dieting specific to that, but when you're a beginner, you don't really know how to do that. You don't need to do 2 hours a day at the gym, an hour of cardio, and then an hour of strength training. Just keep it simple, between 30 minutes to an hour, and you will start to see changes and you'll start to see progress. To get back to your question, what you're asking me is whether or not you should do strength training, or what you call weightlifting, or cardio for losing weight. And if you had to pick only one, I would recommend that you go every time with strength training. And there are a bunch of different reasons why. I'm just gonna go over a few. And the first one is you get more bang for your buck when you lift. Let's start with cardio. When you do cardio, whether it's running, and we're talking about steady state cardio, so something like going for a long run, a long bike ride, any of those things, you burn quite a few calories. And if you have like an Apple Watch or a Fitbit, you'll see that you burned a lot of calories during that run. However, the moment that you get done running, it's game over for how many calories you're losing. When you strength train, however, on the other hand, while you're lifting weights, you'll burn some calories. It might not be as much as you do during the cardio, but the moment you get done, you keep burning calories when your body is rebuilding. So literally during that process of working out, you're breaking down that muscle tissue and it's going to grow, and through the growth process and putting on that muscle, you'll continue to burn calories. And not only that, but your body afterwards, when you start to grow and develop muscles, your base metabolic rate is going to go up. That means that you're gonna burn more calories just hanging out around your house, or even sleeping or sitting down at work, because you have more muscle mass on your body. Now, cardio, on the other hand, you actually lose a lot of that muscle mass when you do long duration cardio. Now, going for like a mile run, going for 2 or 3 miles, as long as we're keeping the time short and quick, things like that, or maybe even doing things like sprints or doing HIIT training and things like that, you won't lose that mass if it's in small doses. However, when you do long steady state cardio, like I used to do obsessively, you will lose a tremendous amount of muscle mass. And the problem with that is that people will hop on the scale and think, oh, I'm losing all this weight and that's great. And yeah, you're losing some fat, but you're mostly actually losing a ton of your muscle. And here is a picture of me right after I did my marathon. And I looked pretty rough because I had lost so much of my muscle mass. And believe it or not, at that point, from there on out, it took me almost 2 years just to gain mass in my arms, my legs, my butt, everything, because I had lost so much mass tissue. And believe it or not, my body fat percentage was much higher then than it's ever been when I'm weightlifting, because your body actually retains a lot of that fat. The first thing that goes is muscle mass. So my skin and my core and things like that was really loose, and I didn't look really necessarily fit. I just looked kind of sick at that point. Now I know what you're thinking. You might be thinking, well, that's a bit extreme. Like I could just stop at a certain point. Sure, like you could do that. However, I am answering your question the way that you're asking it, which is which one is better, and I would go with weightlifting over cardio. Now, maybe you don't have access to proper weightlifting equipment, or maybe you don't have a solid trainer, maybe you don't know what you're doing. I understand that, and I'm not saying that cardio is bad or that you shouldn't do it. I still do light jogging and I do sprints and things like that. However, strength training is far superior to doing just cardiovascular training for weight loss. All right, people, thank you so much for tuning in today. Question of the day. What's your question of the day? If you have any questions that involve health, fitness, anything like that, please leave them down in the comment section below. You never know who you might inspire down there. Chances are somebody else is thinking the same question that you are. So please leave them down there. And until next time, peace.
The truth is, I'm not really sure what happened.
If you came to prove, there's no reason to prove. And now you've got yourself something funky.